Semifinals, Cluj-Napoca. What happened? MOUZ versus Astralis. Faze versus the Falcons. You're here because you want to hear me yap about Counter-Strike for X amount of minutes, so let's just go ahead and do that. MOUZ took care of Astralis. That's great. I love that. Falcons took care of Faze. I don't like that, but I can live with it. So let's set the stage for a best-of-5 grand final that should deliver some high-octane firepower-based matchups. Anyways, my name is LionHeartZ. Welcome back to the channel. Make sure you guys take a second, like the video, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm, so thank you for doing it. I will be co-streaming the grand finals tomorrow on twitch.tv/LionHeartZCS2. Come on by and enjoy the action with me and my community. With that, let's go ahead and thank today's sponsor. That's right, this video is sponsored by Skin Club. They're one of the most popular case opening sites in the scene with over 100 custom cases backed by their provably fair system. You can open cases individually or wager your winnings against other users in case battles, either with players around the world or privately with bots if you want to avoid being smurfed outside of Premiere as well. But wait, there's more. Skin Club runs monthly events with free rewards to earn, free daily cases, and if you don't like what you earned, you can always go for a cheeky little upgrade to get something you do. If you want to play on Skin Club, you can do so at the top link in the description down below and get a 7% deposit bonus when you top off your account with credit card, crypto, or the 5,000 Peach 50 sand dunes in your inventory. Please gamble responsibly and only do so if you are over 18 and live in a country or jurisdiction that doesn't restrict gambling. Gambling can be an addiction, and you should never gamble for the purposes of making profit. Only wager what you are comfortable losing. If you or a loved one are suffering from gambling addiction in the US or Canada, you can reach out to 1-800-GAMBLER toll-free to get help. I want you to be safe and healthy always, so seek help if you need it. And thank you to Skin Club for sponsoring this video. Okay, one more note before we get into the games. I just wanted to give a shout out to one of our Discord members. You can check the link in the description down below to join our community Discord. It's a good time. Please come hang out. But our Romanian representative Super Memes was in the audience for Cluj-Napoca today, and we got this screenshot here where he flashed subscribe to me and subscribe to Garmor. If you don't follow Garmor, you should. He makes fantastic content. But shout out to Super Memes for getting there and putting my name into the broadcast. I would show you guys the full clip, but copyright. Anyways, that legend Super Memes did that in between the breaks during the MOUZ vs Astralis series. And this was a tough series to watch at points, because good lord did I not want to sit here and talk about Astralis making a grand finals. That would have been tough. Thankfully, crisis averted, because MOUZ, they went to work. And we saw the best and worst of what this MOUZ team might actually deliver, because when they were winning, the firepower was godly. When they were losing, it was the most boneheaded mistakes I've ever seen. Astralis jumped out to an early 8-4 T-side lead on Inferno, and I was getting ready to crash out, because Jimmy and Zershin were having terrible games, and I was staring into the abyss of Astralis defeating MOUZ and having to come over here and talk to you guys about how Astralis are still frauds. The hater in me was truly at its lowest ebb when, after winning the second half pistol round, so that's both pistol rounds, the conversion thereafter, and the early game lead on both halves by the way, Astralis were at an impenetrable 12-4 lead. And then MOUZ won 8 straight rounds to bring us into overtime. One thing that MOUZ did excellently throughout this comeback was exercise that extreme B-side pressure via Zershin's entries to draw out as much utility as possible and force Astralis to run on very thin means when it came into these late round situations. MOUZ were comfortable running the clock all the way down and then executing late into B or A based on the intel they would see throughout that round, and most of the time they would get into situations where Astralis has to honor that B-side pressure so much that their only compensation on the A side is to play back on the site, back in pit, back towards library, give up that forward mid presence, which gives Jimmy so much room to operate lurking through apartments. This was just constricting the way MOUZ would corner into these attacks, and after so many consecutive losses, there were often times where Astralis just simply didn't have the extra utility to fend off with late Molotovs, late smokes, late grenades. They're getting drawn out at the beginning very quickly. Round 22, perfect example of this. There's also a situation where Astralis does have everything at their disposal, but they're just so scared to death of giving up the banana control, because if the B side gets taken, it's almost a guaranteed loss. They're trying to re-aggress to take car and control. They push Yabby all the way to sandbags, but he gets crushed by nades in the process, so he's now low. But with his 3 dedicated players towards B, A is wide open for the pickings. MOUZ love to run this default, where it's early B pressure, then late towards arch, pinch A. and they get it pretty much for free here. There's no arch presence whatsoever because the B players are late to rotate, the nades come out, the CT players know the arch pressure is coming through, so they call to their teammates, meaning that Torji has a perfect angle on a missed Molotov to get behind brackets and take out device. As soon as Stayer falls, the bomb site's over, it's 3v5, you're never attempting this retake in any universe, I don't care how good you are. And probably the really frustrating part for Astralis was even when they managed to find some advantage, the one thing you have to say about this MOUZ lineup is their fragging goes deep. So even if you get them in bad situations, they might just hit crazy clutches out of nowhere. Look no further than that very next round, round 23, where it's the same posturing, early B trying to hit A late, but the picks don't really go MOUZ's way. Xerxian gets the early pick banana, but it gets traded right back, putting us into a 4v4. They're boxed out of top banana control, so they gotta rotate back to A. In that rotate back, Device catches Jimmy on a lucky timing outside of apartments, takes him out, and as the rest of the team is committing through brackets, Xerxian lurks up through the arch smoke, is looking at library instead of arch, and Kaden gets a free kill, 4v2. But then Torji and Spinks combine to win from an unwinnable situation, and keep in mind, Astralis are on match point. It's game over if they lose this clutch. A 2v4 at this point in the game is just debilitating to Astralis' mental, and you could tell. And you want to talk about letting chaos reign, which is something that MOUZ seem to abide by with this new lineup? Check this out. Last round of regulation, it's overtime or bust. They wait the entire goddamn round. No picks, no real intel given or taken. It comes down to a 5v5 post plant, which is just the scariest situation in the history of Counter-Strike, especially if you're going to be playing for your game on it. And listen, sometimes I can describe things perfectly, but just go ahead and watch how this plays out. Really, the first pick here is going to decide this round. That's the important part. Who gets the first pick? And it's Jimmy, damn near blind. Manages to get a double on the edge of the smoke. Crazy stuff. And then Xerxian from the back of the site, just one of the very best riflers in the world, cleans it up. And you know, for the sake of keeping things succinct, something that I struggle with, they dominated overtime too. This is an unreal throw by Astralis in the end. You had so many attempts to end this game, but in all fairness, we move on to Nuke, and Astralis, they bounce right back. They win Nuke very confidently with an incredibly executed T-side. However, I think that comes with the caveat that MOUZ just played terrible in the second half, which certainly helped. I don't think if we replayed this game that Astralis would get, you know, damn near 7 straight T-side rounds on Nuke. That's kind of an aberration. So what happened? Well, MOUZ were in a great position to actually start off and make this game really close, if not win it outright with how the CT side tends to go on Nuke. They won the pistol round. Then they lost the anti-eco afterwards, which is just unacceptably bad. And I'm looking at you specifically, Torji, because you should know better. You know they're outside. You know they are like buy mini, big rush, towards secret. Why do you not have your gun out, dude? If you just hold the MP9 out, you for sure kill Cadian, because I just believe in you in that regard, and then it's round over. There's no way Stayer 1v3s with an Eagle. He might, but the odds go way down. Instead, you don't, and the round falls apart. In the next round, it's just absolute chaos in the lower bomb site, leading to Astralis being able to squeak up the vent in a 3v3 to try and get the bomb down. And at this point, with no kit, very little utility, I think MOUZ should be aiming to save, especially once Jimmy dies in heaven. Like, as soon as Jimmy goes down, it should be going back down fence and getting out of there. The fact that they concede another kill to Device just really hurts their ability to try and combat in the very next round. But you can see the trend. Things are really scrappy, but the trades are just going Astralis' way. On a final note, this kind of feels like the worst I've seen Brolin's calling on the CT side so far. This was super disjointed, a whole bunch of individuals trying to go for hero plays, not a whole lot of double swings. I didn't see any good real flashing to take peeks outside. It just felt like once they were on the back foot, they couldn't recover themselves to organize a good CT side hold. But again, this is why I keep using G2 as the comparison for MOUZ, because we move on to Ancient, and they fucking stomped Astralis 13-5. And this came off the back of every single player on MOUZ hitting their shots. Spinks with ridiculous B-side holds. Xerxian with crazy entries on the T-side. Torzi just hitting op shot after op shot. There was nothing that Astralis could do to deal with this firepower difference. Stound and Yavi, bad game. Device, bad game. Stayer, bad game. Cadian, bad game. Like, this is the peak of what this kind of team could represent, where there is no weak bomb site, right? Because Brolin is still a very good player in his own right, there's no IGL or bad support player to pick on. There is no weak site to try and bully, like you would against pretty much any other team in the world. And ultimately, I think this is why people continue to try teams like this, where they go very star heavy, forego the intense tactical system, and just try and go out and win off of defaults. It harkens back to an earlier version of Counter-Strike, kind of the prime Swedish era, 2015, 2016, 2017, where only select regions really went super hard on intricate setups, layering utility, pushing the limits on map control executes. Instead, it was all about playing a loose, puggy style where your individuals are going to go out there and take confident fights backed up by their teammates. And MOUZ executed that game plan perfectly because Ancient is a fast, frenetic map. You just need to be able to hold mid, hold caves, and prevent the B rush, be able to rotate through A. You don't need much else on the CT side. Just go to work as the individuals, and that's exactly what played out. Now again, not to continue to harp on this point, this playstyle has an absolute ceiling. We know that. But when it works, my god is it overwhelming. So congratulations to MOUZ. They made a grand final in their first event with Spinks. Let's see how they do tomorrow. And now, we have to talk about Falcons taking on Faze, where I was sure that riding the bald eagle of glory named Bubblesj, Kerrigan would pilot us into the great new Faze empire, starting now by winning at Cluj-Napoca. And then Falcons beat them 2-0, pretty convincingly at that. So, I guess first things first, I just want to put this out there, that at no point have I ever really held any animosity towards the players for Falcons. They don't control what the organization does, or the fact that they are run by terrible people doing terrible things in a terrible country. That's not their fault. I like all of these players. I love Nico. I think Nico is one of my favorite players of all time. I know that's a hot take, but I'm going to stand by it. So I'm glad that the players are getting to do well, that the players are getting to succeed. But it does make me sick that Falcons might actually win a trophy, because fuck them. Such is life, unfortunately, as we exist on the last dying embers of late-stage capitalism, staring into an ever-deepening abyss of despair in front of us. At least the Counter-Strike was fun, though. Dust 2 was an absolute mayhem fest, both teams playing beautiful, sloppy, mistake-riddled Counter-Strike, but damn, it was entertaining. First place at the start, Nico was incredible in both games of this series, goes off for 39 total kills. On Dust 2, he goes off for 25, 1.50 rating, 91 ADR. It was definitely a group effort with Magisk and Dexter pulling a lot of the weight behind him. Again, a bad game for Tessas, who was just having an off tournament, and Kixan was just there for the ride. Dexter himself had the most Dexter game of all time, getting 16 kills, 14 of which were op kills, so he did nothing else unless the big green was in his hand. He did have a very hilarious team kill, though, later on in the second half, so I guess that's cool. I think the thing that went wrong for Faze here ultimately is that they was just very slow to start. Bubblesj took a long time to get on the board. They allowed the Falcons T side to take a very early commanding lead, 6-2, before Faze could really confidently get some CT rounds behind them. One thing that I think is worth highlighting here is that Kerrigan really struggled in the mid-round calling in both of these games. He was just not on top of his reads, and that stands out a lot in round 11, where things are going to start off with Tessas getting an opener onto Kerrigan through long A, and then all of Falcons are going to crowd out and just hold and sit on long. Nico is already going to start rotating all the way through T-spawn towards B just to keep an eye on things. Eventually the play is going to be to rotate back fully through spawn and go B late. And if Bubblesj was just a little bit more aggressive here and had held this angle at the top of mid, he would have been able to spoil or at least learn about a lot more of this. But instead he goes up, gets it clear with a flashbang before falling back. Now again, some of that's a benefit of hindsight thing, but Bubblesj is a very aggressive player. You're already down a pick. I think being proactive here is the correct call, and he's either called off it by someone else or double guesses himself on the push, and it costs them in a big way, because now Falcons have all the time in the world to navigate this rotate back, and meanwhile, Kixan and Dexter are going to park on long to continue to play the info game, and they play it perfectly. Rain is again on the verge of spoiling this B take, but at the last second he turns around because guess what? Kixan is executing the A cross to sight through long. Faze have no more intel other than there was a long pick at the beginning of the round, so they assume it's a slow A, and everyone coalesces around Cat and CT, leaving a perfect gap for the B bomb site to be wide open. It's just a misread, an unfortunate one too, because it cost Faze a lot of momentum. They were going to be able to break Falcons' economy if they won this round. Now, Faze did recover, especially at the end of the half, and they ran off a strong streak of rounds on their T side. Kerrigan himself had a sick 4K just pushing out mid-doors like he's just the star player, gets a sick double kill, a one-tap all the way towards A main like he's just a star player again. That was awesome. But unfortunately, they hit another brick wall. It's round 18, they're going to go for the mid to B execute, Dexter hits a nice pick onto Elise, we're going to trade out by Frozen, and then Magisk, just, you know, when he's on his game, one of the best anchors of all time, gets a nice double kill out of the B tunnels, and that shuts down the round for Faze. If they win here, even with loss bonus, Falcons are going to be working on next to nothing. Certainly no utility if they want an op, if they can even afford it. But credit to Falcons, they lock in from here, and Faze only win one more round before the game is over. Still an insanely close map, could have gone either way, so hopefully this is just going to be a competitive series. Maybe we'd go all 3 maps. And then it ended up being a 13-6 blowout, and Kicksan top fragged with 20 kills, and got some insane multis along the way. Kind of a tough look. And this brings up some interesting questions in the aftermath, because I think this core for Faze with Elise, Brogy, and Frozen is good enough to win championships. They have the firepower. But there's no doubt that all 3 of these players are historically inconsistent. And I think the one thing that this team should be looking to improve is unfortunately Broky for a different opper. I think Broky has a lot of high highs, and when he's hitting, he can be a top 5 or better opper in the world. But the problem is, in a lot of big games for Faze, he goes missing. And I can't help but wonder what this Faze team could look like with either a more dynamic and efficient opper or someone who plays a slower anchoring style. The first thing that pops to mind is I think Faze should have pursued Sun Pius. Sun Pius for Broky will give them someone who can really anchor these bomb sites while Elise and Frozen work on the extremities of the map or aggressively forward on their T sides. What Faze really need is someone that they can rely on to hit the easy shots, and Broky tends to miss the easy ones and then hit just burners out of nowhere. You can't really live and die by someone being that kind of inconsistent in big championship games anymore. The average of teams is just getting too good. So I think there is still one more roster move for Faze to realize its potential, whereas this core from Heroic on the Falcons is just already very good, and Nico and Magisk are just 2 of the best players for the last 10 years. You add that onto this team, it's just going to level them up instantly. So in the end, it's a very disappointing outcome as someone who really thought Faze could win this entire thing. I'm obviously a big Faze fan myself, so I'm certainly biased. But there's no doubt that Falcons played better Counter-Strike in this series. They deserved to win. I hope they do well in the finals tomorrow against MOUZ. Even if watching this organization win something makes me physically ill. Well, it's going to be a hate watcher's delight tomorrow in the grand final, so hopefully you guys join me at the co-stream, twitch.tv/LionHeartZ. Let me know how you feel about these games in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video as well and subscribe if you haven't already, as it helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm. Thank you to Skin Club for sponsoring this video. If you check the top link in the description, you get a 7% deposit bonus the next time you fill up on the website. Please gamble safely and responsibly. Shout out to our channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, Patatas Kaftesi, PTR, B1 Games, Cody Foxworthy, and Justin Vander Vegt. If you don't become a channel member, you can do so with the link in the description down below. For $5 a month, you can support me directly, get streamed the video just like this, as well as a role in our community Discord. Thank you to our channel members. Alright guys, see you soon with another video. Peace.